Okay, conceptuality14c video. We're gonna just sort of do some review here. Here we have the octet construction, right? The tetrahedron has enough information to create the octahedron inside. All you have to do is divide each side in half and connect those points, and you have the octahedron in the middle. When you do that, as we mentioned before, you break the integrity of each side, so the only thing holding the two-frequency tetrahedron in a tetrahedral shape is the octahedron in the middle. When we take this out, the only reason this tetrahedron is standing is because this has not been divided. To make this tetrahedron from another perspective, all we have to do is add tetrahedrons to four faces of the eight-sided octahedron. This face, this face, this face, and this face, and this face, and we would have back to the octet star. So now we can take this octet construction and show you here, right, that this is, we showed you this model before. This is the black octahedron here, black tetrahedron here, and the red tetrahedron here, right? Now, all we've done is add a tetrahedron to each face of the larger tetrahedron, right? It's internal, And what do we have when we do that? We have the tetrastar. The tetrastar is a tetrahedron with a tetrahedron on each face, okay? Now, in this case, we have two tetrastars because we have the black one and we have the red one. And when we do that, we end up with this, okay? Now this is actually the cube that, well, let's back up here a minute. Okay, so I'm going to show, that's how that we have, you can kind of recognize what this construction looks like, okay? Now we're going to take that same, we talked the last video about the implosion, where you take the tetrahedron on each face of the octahedron and you implode it into the octahedron, and you end up with, going through all eight faces, you end up with this construction. Do you see it? This thing here in the middle is the same thing as this, right? As this whole thing, okay? So now if we connect these points here and here and here and here, if we do it in here, in here, in here, okay, we come up with a cube that sits right in the octahedron. Here's one model of it, okay? You can see that here's the octahedron. Here it is, blah, blah, blah. And then here's the cube sitting in the middle of it, right? Well, that's this same, this would be happening in this construction. And here it is in this one, which you've seen before, but I hadn't added in the cube vectors, okay? So here's the cube that we're talking about, that's from the middle of the face of the octahedron, okay? Now, in the case of this one, we told you before that this is a 15-frequency octahedron, and in here we have these cubes are completely rational to this 15 frequency, because if this is 15 frequency, this diagonal across the cube is 10, right? And you know, that's I can't. All this math is just easily done with the Pythagorean theorem, because all of these, I mean, it's right triangles. All the dimensions are easy. We have made this dimension to be, if this dimension is 15, this tetrahedron has a dimension of 6, and then this dimension from here to here has to be 15 because it's the same. It's the same as the edge of the octahedron, so that leaves this to be 9. So there's enough information here, and it's all rational, that every single dimension in this construction is completely even number, rational square root of something, or well, any even number is the square root of its square, right? So everything in here is completely rationalized by the square root of even numbers, okay? I mean, square root of whole numbers. So that's pretty amazing. Now, you can see that there's so many possibilities for rational interconnectivity here that are all self-generating, and that it's completely rational. That if this is 15, this one in the middle here has to be 3, and they'll see that black cube there in the middle. There's 5 of them across this across the diagonal of the octahedron, and of this larger cube, there's 3 of them across the diagonal of it, and that's completely even number, always true, so that we have all these potentials for rational matrices to be interacting completely rationally at frequencies that are even in the static models. Well, to me, because I've looked at this so much, this is completely rational and understandable. But go a couple more steps, and you can't hold it all in your mind. Now imagine taking the stop time aspect out of it, so that you end up with a completely rational universe based in a constant that has so many rational possibilities of interconnectivity that you come up with very quickly, conceptually, enough interaction to justify everything, to justify consciousness itself. Now, essentially, if we're calling this 15 frequency, you could just imagine this is an octahedron, you know, with the tetrahedron on it here, so that if we just kept dividing this in half, and it's got higher and higher and higher and higher frequency, it would become more and more and more dense, and it would accommodate all of these other these realities completely, perfectly rationally. It's hard to see that, but all you'd have to do is increase the frequency. All of these constructions would be inherent in that higher frequency, and it's just it's really mind-boggling. I don't know. I hope that I was able to give you some sense of that. It's really it's pretty hard to do with my limited resources here, but I'll stop this video at this point.